Thank you, Bill, and a particular thank you to so many people that arrived today. We really weren't expecting so many people, so it's a wonderful surprise. The way that this conference came about was I went over, and I think many of you as well attended the Waikato conference with many of the same speakers. Excuse me. And I was actually blown away. I really, it didn't have a really good idea of all of the different trends from demographic right across the whole GFC thing. And I guess it was put in a local government context. And this was back in probably October last year, I think it was, or even September. And what really got to me by the end of the day is I realised that it wasn't actually about local government at all. It was about the whole of the community. That's what this is all about. And that was one of the major reasons why today came about. And the other aspect of that was that it occurred to me that with all of these massive changes coming, but they were coming relatively slowly, and local governments together with the rest of the community is a little bit like the frog in the slowly boiling water, is that there's stuff coming, but we will put up with it, and we won't change until it's too late. But there's a massive opportunity now with the better local government legislation and reform coming through, and whilst it would appear a bugger's muddle, as Peter eloquently described it, it's still a huge opportunity. And it's a little bit like that frog in the boiling water with the kettle being smashed, and this opportunity for that frog to look up and actually realise that there's a whole lot of change out there and opportunities to hop away or make the best of its new environment. And that really is what this is about. And whilst the word amalgamation has been used to some extent today, it's really been very pleasant to be able to see a lot of people thinking it's actually not just about that word. It's about a blank slate, a blank piece of paper where we can redesign community leadership, I guess is a better way of doing this. So it's the whole of community, and that's why one of the reasons why we put this together. And when John Cronin offered us to sponsor it through the regional council, and Annie Pankhurst and Peter and myself were getting together and talking about this, we realised that it was something that it was a public service that we thought the Chamber could put forward, and then that would hopefully kickstart the debate and we can go it forward. So that's really how it started. So our grateful thanks to all of the participants who got it together. I wanted to also, I think part of that is to get a lot of the movers and shakers around to come to this and really get to this level of knowledge that certainly we picked up, because and we don't have that many people that are not heavily involved in the community that are here, not many business leaders, etc. We would have liked to have seen more, and because as I think Paul put it out, that local government is boring to the wider population, and that accounts for a lot of things like the diminishing voter registration every term, etc. And we need to, all of us as leaders, need to get out there and actually say this is not just about local government, it's about all the big issues that are affecting the whole of the community. So that's one of the things that we really would like this out of this conference is to take it forward. And one way that we can help, excuse me, together in partnership with everybody here and lots of other organisations, and I would invite us to set up a think tank on how to disseminate information best about this subject. So we're happy to set up a website, put this, all not the transcript, but certainly the video transcript on the website, and start to upload any changes, local government commission, LG, local government authority, association, any information about any of the other regions that are making changes. We can put that on the website and create a repository of information that anybody in our region can come along and access. And more importantly, put a blog up there and get some good debate going, all different views. So we would invite any and every organisation, my fellow chambers, and any other of the third sector, as it's called, and anybody else to really get involved and take us together, and we go forward on disseminating information. And that's fundamentally what we see our role as being. Excuse me. One of the next things in terms of where do we go from here is I imagine that there is a lot of research and data needed to be generated. There is going to be change, there's no question about that, but we need to substantiate whatever change is going to be happen with good evidence. That some of it, within the councils, there will be that evidence and the different the academic sources and other organisations, but we certainly need to develop more information. So we need to figure out how we're going to resource that. So hopefully, we can do that as a community. We need to figure out how to work more effectively with Auckland. That's a massive opportunity, as Bob has and other speakers have put forward today, and we need to really work in partnership with that region to our north. And the UNISA organisation can certainly piggyback on that. New leaders will emerge from this. We hope from the community as well. Many of the leaders that will take us forward and whatever change is going to be happening for our communities are within this room. And hopefully there will also be other leaders as well to take us forward from right across our region and the different subsectors within that. Paul, excellent. Really enjoyed your presentation. And if I might, just to tell you of the immense support that local government has from the business community, can't go any higher than Paul's commitment, because Paul Tustin had a box at the Wellington Sevens this afternoon. And he gave that up for this. Thank you, Paul. But the regulatory reform, of course, the business community has got a strong interest in that. And we'd be very interested to know what the leadership, the mayors and the chairs are going to go forward and how that's all going to take place. And I think one of the absolute key things that has come through in the conference, and certainly with my reading in futures, is a real good understanding. Is this whole concept of place. The writings of Richard Florida and various other writers, and it's been mentioned a couple of times here, is that it really, when we consider that why people come and live in our place and why they stay in our place, whatever that place is, it encourages us when we start thinking about that, about how to. It's not about inward looking anymore, because the concept of place isn't. It's a competitive thing. You have to look outside to compare yourself with others. What makes us attractive compared to that region or that area? And when we can see what our unique identity is, then we can establish our own sense of identity within that. And so the concept of place is something that we need to, I think, further develop. Why are we unique? What makes us special? And lastly, I guess my own bugbear on this one is with the immense amount of legislation that central government has imposed on local government for so many years, that local government has become, I guess, a culture in many ways where there's a lack of creativity, and it's all about just rolling out what is imposed from central government. And I think what that has done is created a sense of, it's about ratepayers, it's what the ratepayer can get for as little cost as possible from the government, from local government. And I think that the most important thing that we can do out of this process as it goes on over the months and years is really to try and turn the ratepayer mentality into a citizen mentality, and we become citizens and involved in our local government and our local affairs. So I think those are some of the ways that we can go forward, but really it's open to you now, and Bill has disappeared, really to facilitate what would you like to do going forward. What can we do together to go forward?
All right, thinking caps on. Are there particular ideas that you'd like to float that you think would be worthwhile taking forward, over and above what's already being done? But perhaps ideas that have come particularly out of the matters covered today? I think I'd have to run around with microphones for a little while. One here, one there, one there.
Kia ora everybody. Tēnā koe te reo o te kāinga, tēnei te mihi nui kia koe. I'd really like to acknowledge, my ears would really like to acknowledge all the people that have come, that have taken the time. they've left the sevens to come up here and regale our ears with many, many great conversations. Ones that very logistical ones, but ones also that spoke about a possibility. Ones that spoke about a future. Peter, I want to acknowledge the conversation that you had where what I got out of it is that local government can reflect more the community, and then ownership lives there. And then I want to talk about Paul, where he spoke, where you spoke a lot of, you didn't speak about stuff that I thought a business person would speak about. You spoke a lot about the municipal things, you also spoke about iwi, and you spoke about the social responsibility side as well. So the idea that I would like to float is this, is that there, and also I want to acknowledge Antoine, because there is a possibility now, if we stand here and not look backwards, but look forwards, where there could be committees or groups where iwi, business and communities can sit together to create possibilities for the betterment of the community, of our mokopuna, of our tamariki that honours our grandparents and the ancestors. And what that does is that you don't get the clash when they're sitting at the one table. Now, am I saying, is that going to be the new council? No. Possibly that group could feed that. But I don't know. So that's my little koha. I just want to acknowledge Antoine for, given that the people of the whenua could not be here, someone from the whenua welcomed us here today. But my ears and my heart and my eyes to the future say thank you very much for holding this hui.
Yeah.
Kia ora. Thank you very much for that. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Next one was here. Lady with the silver hair there.
First of all, can I just, my name is Mary Dillon. First of all, can I just acknowledge the Chamber of Commerce for the efforts they went to in putting this together, you and Annie, and the support that you had from your sponsors in getting us here today. And I think after the economic conference that you had last year and this one, that's a very important first step. And I think Peter McKinlay repeated a number of times something quite important. What are you going to do about it? And I think the next step needs to be not just the sectors that are here today, but pulling in the environmental sector and the community development sector, and then us all talking together about a way forward for the Bay. Through smart growth, there is going to be a social sector forum set up, which will be not just about social, it's about community development and building community. The same will happen with the environment sector. The Environment Centre is actually rolling out a network of connections in environmental matters right throughout the Bay at the moment, and I think all those groups need to talk to each other because all of those well-beings are important going forward, not just economics and not just what councils to do. At the end of the day, it's going to take a lot of grassroots action, and I'm up for helping in that area.
Thank you, Mary.
Yes, thank you. I found it a fabulous day. Provocative, at times a little bit disturbing that we may be jumping to conclusions too quickly, but I think it's got us all thinking, and that's a great way to start in this new year. I'd like to see some think tanking going on. We're never sure that we speak from an evidence-based approach based on research. I'm not sure about economies of scale. Just is there a tipping point of the right size, or should we be looking at resources and the needs for resource development? So there's a lot of things that I think we need to pick up and take further from today so that we can go back to our communities to speak with some confidence and reassurance, really, that nothing's going to happen quickly. This is really complex, but we want to all be part of that conversation. So I don't know whoever is going to organise think tanks, but I think we could arrange them around the sort of platforms that Mary was thinking of, and then more and more from the sectors will come and participate. But it was a great start of a very long journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Stevie.
There's another question was there another? Anne, did you want to ask a question?
Thank you, Max, and congratulations to you and your team, Anne, and thanks to the Regional Council for the opportunity to be part of this. I take on board that this is a meeting of great minds, and sometimes, and I take on board your comment that we need a think tank, and I'd probably just agitate a little bit further, because there has been a little bit of people agitating. I would suggest that instead of a think tank, we need a do tank. And what we need to take out of this, we've been thinking and talking for too long. And we actually need to go and find, even if it's one thing that we can do, then let's go and do and show the community that we're serious about this instead of talking about it.
Actually, I'd just make a very quick comment. Right at the beginning of today's session, I made a comment about some developments that are taking place in thinking. In fact, all of them are taking place in practice, and it is worth remembering that the phrase is learning by doing rather than learning by talking about. Other questions? Please, here.
Thank you again, thank you very much, and thank you for everybody here. I'd just like to make an appeal, in fact a question, you might like to comment on it. And being part of that group of people with hair, in fact white hair, one of the things I've gone around and I've talked an awful lot with a lot of the white-haired people in Katikati, and so many of them are CEOs who've decided they would opt out. So many of the people that arrived in town, they're not natives of the town, they've just arrived. There's a tremendous backlog of experience. Sorry, that's a dirty word. Forget about training, forget about qualifications. I'm talking about experienced people who are sitting down. Those old people, sorry, those second teenagerhood people are not dead at the tools, but they're sitting there, not even being lit up at the moment. I mean, maybe you better have something like a good sausage sizzle, a pub, something or other, some sort of show for people to turn around and let their hair if they've got it down. But there is a tremendous reserve of vitality and knowledge here, which somehow, though we've been put in, even here today, have been putting them in the category of they are a problem, and this is a problem. And that's the thing I was hoping would come out, and it didn't come out.
Yep. No, look, you're absolutely right. You know, you know, Bay Plenty's got as you rightfully say, a huge number of people who've got really, really good experience, and I see a lot of them. They come into the chamber and they sort of looking for something to do. Very often they're cashed up. They sold a business up in Auckland or whatever. They move down here, a bit of lifestyle. They're here for 6 months and they're bored and they agitate and they want to get into something. I think that in the past, local government hasn't been of particular interest to them, I must actually. I have the greatest admiration for Paul Tusterman and what he said, but I actually do think that there is a thing with business leaders. People have done perhaps well, and they don't like public criticism. I've seen that by a lot of them. You know, they just run a mile when they read the name in the letters to the editor or whatever. And I think that they actually would like to get involved in other things. And if there were think tanks or some ways that they could get involved, and now's the time when there's change in the air, and it's not just incremental change, potentially it's strategic change. And I do think that there will be people that are interested. I can pretty much guarantee, I know there are people in the audience here tonight, very competent business people who, not many of them, but a few, who actually may be starting to think of maybe going into politics to put something back. And this is maybe the start of it. And I think that when we will perhaps have a session, say in a week or something, or 2 weeks, send it out to all the delegates and to say, this is a session we'll have to talk about people who are particularly interested, who want to make the contribution and get involved. And I think we'll have quite a few people in there, and we'll build from there. So that'll be the beginning of the start of this think tank. And then we do it as a partnership, all the people in that room, and we take it forward on a consensus basis. Yep.
Please.
Yes, Max. As your Associate Chamber of Commerce from Rotorua, I'd like to also extend my congratulations on the day. I'm pleased to hear from the demographic presentation and from your comment there that in fact 65 might be today's 85, and that there's 20 years left for me yet, which would be wonderful. But like you, I think I'm a little bit disappointed. We tried very hard to promote the conference to the business community in Rotorua to hopefully get representation here. I know we have got a couple that have come over. And I think that's a little bit of a disappointment, because I do think that this is a discussion that should be had throughout the whole of the community, and the business community is very much part of that. So if there's something that I am going to take away from here, and you ask me what my next step is to try and generate the same discussion over in Rotorua that we've had here today, to begin that accumulation of knowledge so that we're informed when it does come to looking at what is the most effective governance for tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Roger. Really appreciate that. And yeah, absolutely. That's what we've got. We've got to get those people involved. You know, a day is a long time to sacrifice for what might be an uncertain outcome. So certainly, you know, as I say, all of these presentations will be chunked up, and they'll be on YouTube, and they'll be on our website and on the Regional Council's website, so we can start promoting them, particularly the ones that are of interest to different people, and also transcripts as well. We try and get some summaries organised as well. So yeah, it's all about communication now, and let's get it out there.
May I just ask, John, is John still here? Would you like to sponsor the meeting over in Rotorua for us? Just a nod of the head, I can see.
Kia ora tātou.
Kia ora.
King Kennedy, Kaumātua Tarawa, Kaumātua Wairiki Institute of Technology. I think for me, we have to identify ourselves again as the Bay of Plenty. And of course it's about landmarks that makes our region unique to other regions. You know, I've heard us talking about Waikato and all that. There's a whakatauki in Te Rohe o Te Wairiki, mai ngā kuria whare ki Tihira. From Katikati in the north to Pōtaka, just past the Kaha, and they were into the east coast. Mai maketu ki Tongariro, from the coast to the mountains in the centre of the North Island. Part of the Bay of Plenty region is also South Waikato, the Kākaro Pātatere, which is from Tūparatoa, more or less in a straight line back towards Katikati. That is the Bay of Plenty region as far as I'm concerned. We don't have to venture into Waikato. I get hoaha going from Rotorua to Tūparatoa, and all of a sudden I see a signpost on the side of the road. You are welcome, you are coming into the Waikato region. But we're not. We're going into the Tūparatoa region. We've got to get those signposts right. And it's about everybody in the Bay of Plenty coming together and consolidating and developing the resources for Te Rohe o Te Wairiki, which is the Bay of Plenty region. I'm not surprised Takata Whenua never turned up this morning. If you have a look at the booklet here, it says a conference for the communities and councils of the Bay of Plenty region. I think you need to include iwi as part of that heading.
Kia ora.
That way you would have had the Kaumātua Tauranga Moana here to welcome us all here this morning. This is what it's all about. I think it's not about local governments, it's about communities. You know, I heard Stephen, somebody talking about the water. What's happening at the moment? The iwi is fighting for the water. We need to talk about it. I never heard Steve mention anything about iwi. All he wanted to do was form a water commission. What does that mean? This is where I'm coming from. Just a bit of input for us to think about. Kia ora tata.
Kia ora.
Kia ora. Thank you.
There's a question over here.
Thank you. Kia ora tātou, Merepeka Raukawa Tate from Rotorua. I've enjoyed today. I don't find local body work boring. I find sometimes, though, how it's presented to our community is probably the problem. But what I would like to ask is that those here today don't overlook, and I'm sure you don't, but it hasn't come out much today, is don't overlook the contribution of the third sector to our communities. Within the third sector, you find the people who really do know what's happening in the communities. They have wonderful leadership within those organisations. They have usually identified a gap, filled that gap, and done wonderful things with the minimum of resources. There are significant millions of dollars managed by those contracts in the NGO sector, the third sector now, so it is a growth area. A lot of those services are being devolved to the third sector, and within those sectors, within those areas right now, there is significant leadership, excellent relationships, because they have to do that to achieve what they want to do. So I do believe that our third sector will have a growing role to play as we go forward in terms of the development of our ongoing development of our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely true.
Any other contributions?
Kia ora. The think tank needs to have youth, some excitement. Don't know how you're going to bring the youth to, sorry mihi peka, boring hui, and use the technology that the youth are on today. If you can try and attract that, that'll be great. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Thank you. It's it's hugely important that we focus on our youth and the solutions. Where we're going with that, because there aren't that many good answers out there. You know, the current structures are not providing the great answers. So absolutely, we need to find new answers. Kia ora.
How are you going? You getting plenty out of this so far, Max?
Alistair Holmes from Kawerau. One of the biggest lessons I've learnt today was define the problem before you get the solution. And I don't think we've defined the problem. And I believe that there should be a forum for every member here to define their problem. Then we know what we've got to cure. Thank you.
How's your list going?
Yeah, no, so... Yeah.
What do you want about page 5 at this point?
Keep it going for a while, yeah. No, I mean, good, it's a very good point. You know, and that's, I guess, what today was all about, was really just to start really defining what the problems are and the opportunities. Yeah. And potentially, you know, the think tanks that might stem from this will be people who've got particular interest in different areas, and they themselves, let's take population ageing. I imagine Carol will be in there and you know, potentially leading a group of population ageing, and that will, you know, involve a bunch of people, and there'll be other people. Yeah. Yeah. No, thank you for that. Absolutely true.
Can I just pick up what I thought were some great words of wisdom from the Kaumātua a short time ago? He talked about defining the Bay of Plenty, and I think that's quite important. But when we listened to the presentations today, we did hear a lot about problems, about economic problems and social problems and population change and so on. And we've got a number of local authorities here who are all working earnestly in the interests of their community. But I think what we are lacking is a vision for the Bay of Plenty. We've had some very good work, exemplary work, carried out in the Smart Growth study. But when we start talking about spatial planning and the way it's defined for Auckland and what that encompasses, and when you listen to Sir Bob Harvey, for me, he talked about people, he talked about economy, and he talked about environment. And he talked about the way Auckland has now defined its vision. So I don't think you should get together and talk about problems. I think you should get together and talk about a vision for the Bay of Plenty. There's an old biblical saying, without a vision, the people perish. And we don't want to perish.
Yep, you do hear that, yeah. Increasingly, in fact, that it's about vision and articulation of that vision. And I think the Auckland vision has really started to inform what people perhaps feel a bit of a lack of. How would you suggest we do that? What's the mechanics? Or anybody else, for that example?
Well, clearly it needs some institutional leadership to achieve that. Suggestions have been made about local government sector, iwi, business sector, and so on. And maybe the steering group should be like that, but it needs to be representative of the whole of the Bay of Plenty. You know, we've got Opotiki doing interesting things to try and grow its economy. We've got Whakatane, Rotorua, everybody's doing things, but if we could bring some cohesion to what we're doing, you know, it's a matter of determining vision and strategy on a region-wide basis. So effectively, taking the smart growth type of model and expanding it onto the broader region, I think perhaps that the local government, which has got the institutional horsepower, has to take the lead and then start to bring the other partners in. But it does need to be that multi-party consensus representative of all the sectors that we've heard about today. So maybe it needs something like the Mayoral Forum to get it rolling, and take it from there. I haven't thought the whole thing through. I just know that we have lacked vision until smart growth came around. We didn't even have a vision for the Western Bay of Plenty, and so smart growth has been a great move. But we have lacked articulated vision, as you've described it, Max, and certainly going back to my days with the City Council, it was one of my pleas was, can we please have a strategic plan for the city at that time, rather than for the council. And I think that's where government legislation has driven us towards councils having strategic plans when we actually want to be talking about the region. The region, as the gentleman, the Kamātua, talked about it. And if everyone had a vision that they could buy into, then we would see all these sectors collaborating. I think there's enormous opportunity for iwi to be involved in a whole series of ventures for the broader benefit of the community. So I'm not quite sure how to go, but maybe the Mayoral Forum has got to be a starting point.
Thank you, Alan. I think one way to progress that is to, when we send out the invitation for the first meeting of interested parties, one of the things on the agenda will be vision. In fact, it'll probably be at the top of the agenda, and then an action point is to talk to the mayors and see where they've gone. I know that they put out a joint media release as well, so it'd be interesting to hear where that goes. But we will report back on what you're saying. Thank you.
One over here.
Just to say, there is a cash bar to be available, and if anybody doesn't feel like a cold beer at this stage, I'm inhuman. Sorry.
Just in complete contrast to Alan's suggestion for how to go about creating a vision, picking up on the comment over here that why not task the youth in the Bay of Plenty and use marae, of which we've got lots around the Bay of Plenty, and task those wonderful young people in the wonderful schools that we have in the Bay of Plenty with creating a vision for the Bay of Plenty and using their devices, of which they have numerous as well. It's all there. I think the Mayoral Task Force is a great idea, Alan, but really boring. And I think you need to move on from that and take a more modern, fresh, innovative approach to finding the solutions in our community.
Well done. Absolutely agree. We'll include them very much so. Absolutely. They are the future. They've got to be part of the vision, or they are the vision.
I feel that's a good segue into a comment from myself on behalf of the Young Professionals Forum. So in Tauranga we have two key Young Professionals Forums, so Rocket, which is run by the Chamber, and Priority One Young Professionals. And yeah, I was just thinking along the lines of hearing from Natalie in terms of the ageing demographics and more of the workforce retiring. And I think what's really important is to get that knowledge transfer as well. And I think young people are always willing to learn, and having a mentoring program in place would be really fantastic to connect some of the young professionals, but also to those experienced business people. I spoke to Stuart Crosby just in the break as well, and he mentioned that Sir Bob has been a great mentor to him during the course of his time as Mayor, and I think that that's really critical to have sort of a mentor figure for young business people and young people in local government also. And also in terms of your, you mentioned that following the conference there might be, you might have a blog up as well with some, you know, as a medium for people to provide their thoughts. And recently I was at a conference in Wellington, and there's an organisation there which has developed a tool called Lumio, and it's a collaborative decision-making tool. So basically it's like an online blog, and people can vote and give their thoughts, and it generates tables and graphs and has a set time for decisions to be made. So yeah, I can recommend that.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Yeah, absolutely. We'll investigate that. If you want to join the group, you're more than welcome. Priority One absolutely must be there.
I'm noticing that people are starting to come to an end of the day, perhaps the last one.
Thank you. I'm Mark Boyle from Te Puke, and I'd just like to pick up on what Alan said about vision. In Te Puke, we define Te Puke as being the region from the Papamoa Hills to Otamaraka. We have a very, very strong vision. We're absolutely determined to build a biofuels plant at Rangiuru and employ 100 people within the next 5 years. We're absolutely determined to grow a tourism business with direct plane loads of people from China, and we've formed an alliance with Rotorua in that respect. And we're also determined to build a reinvigorated town centre. So we have a vision, and we'd like to share that vision with everyone else in the Bay of Plenty. So I think it's really important that we do come together to share those ideas, and it's important that we actually get past some of this anti-competitive behaviour that exists in the Bay of Plenty. So I endorse what Alan said and suggest that the sub-regions and the districts of the sub-regions get together and actually contribute to creating that vision, setting in train a mission so we all know what it is we're actually supposed to be doing, all the collective groups, and underpinning that with a whole series of values that actually ensure that we can deliver and live the vision. So we're right behind your idea, Alan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Last question for Peter, who's sitting down here. Sorry about that. Peter, you could at least meet her halfway.
She tells me she's trying to get fit for a marathon, so... Just an observation, I think some of the suggestions about how to move ahead, and it's obvious that the local authorities and the Mayoral Forum are going to play an important role, and it's great, the sense of vision from people like youth and iwi and so on. But a point I'd like to make from actually looking elsewhere is that to send the signal that something is changing, and that this is about a whole of community approach, it would make real sense for the leadership to be taken by leaders from the community. If it's handed back to the Mayoral Forum, for all the skills and so on that they've got, it will look like the same old, same old. So there's a real case, and the momentum's here for perhaps the Chamber, perhaps others, to say, we're going to take the lead, we're going to resource this, because think tanking doesn't, It's not a great voluntary activity. It's important to have voluntary input. So we're looking about a serious endeavour that needs a lot of vision and it needs a lot of investment. And I guess my plea is that we don't take the view that this is a simple thing to do and we can easily trot ahead. We need to match our commitment with our belief that it's worth doing. And what I would like to suggest is the Chamber started this, that the Chamber carry the responsibility forward, working across the community to show that business, third sector and iwi can collectively work together to build the partner that local government needs.
I think much of that is absolutely right. I'm not sure that the Chamber should say we are the leaders and go forward and get everybody. This is about collaboration. This is about the Chamber setting something, potentially doing what's happened, but we need to get in the room now and on a consensus basis, partnership basis, go forward with whatever's going to happen. I personally feel that's really important.
On that note, I notice already some people have left. Others of you are looking very much like you're about to go. So I think we'll draw the day to a close. Would you firstly join with me, please, in thanking Max for his contribution?
Thank you very much.
Peter, while you've got the microphone down there, do you want to say any words to finish off? Or John? Oh, John, have you got the microphone? Yeah. Do you want to say some words to finish off?
No, I didn't really want to have to say any closing remarks, other than I should say, if we are closing, we should thank the Chamber of Commerce and Anne Pankhurst for the work they've done, and I'll just ask you to put your hands together and thank them for a really good job. Thank you, Max.
Yep, and thank you very, very much for the sponsorship from the Bay of Plenty Regional Council, and to all of you for your attendance. A very, very safe drive home. Please take it easy. Only one drink. Thanks. Just want to thank Anne as well. Done a superb job for putting it together. And perhaps a website that we can call it www.collaborationbop.org.nz. Thank you very much.